Every evening, just before sunset, the last commuter train carried hundreds of people home. Most passengers never noticed one another. They were simply trying to make it through another day. But there was one passenger everyone seemed to recognize. Charlie stepped off the train at the same stop every single day. He never wandered. He never hesitated. Every evening, he followed the exact same path. At every intersection, Charlie waited. Not because he was afraid, because someone had taught him to wait. Daniel, the train conductor, had seen that quiet determination before in people who refused to break a promise. Daniel was curious and had wanted to follow Charlie for weeks, but every evening, duty kept him on the train. Until one rainy Thursday, his shift ended at Charlie's stop. For the first time, he finally had the chance to follow Charlie and find out where he was going. The walk wasn't long until Charlie reached a place Daniel never expected. Charlie stops outside a hospital, looking toward a second-floor window. Daniel stood beneath his umbrella. He never imagined this. Daniel waited until Charlie settled beneath the glowing window. Then, he quietly walked toward the hospital entrance. He glanced back at Charlie before entering the hospital. "Excuse me," Daniel said softly. "I know this may sound strange, but there's an old black Labrador outside. The one who sits beneath the second-floor window every evening. We've all wondered who he belongs to." "You know him?" asks Daniel. The nurse replies, "Everyone here knows him. He comes every single day." Daniel, "Does he belong to someone here?" Nurse, "We believe so. We've always assumed he was waiting for someone. And since hospital policy doesn't allow unattended dogs to enter the hospital, he just lays there, beneath the same window every single evening. Come with me and bring the dog. I have an idea as to whom he may be waiting for." The nurse led Daniel and Charlie upstairs. She stopped outside one room and quietly opened the door. Inside the room was Walter. He had spent 40 years working the railroad. 3 weeks earlier, a stroke had brought every journey to a sudden stop. With the nurse's approval, Daniel brought Charlie into the room. Charlie never rushed. He simply walked to the bedside. Charlie approached slowly and gently rested his head near Walter's arm. Walter's fingers moved. His eyes slowly opened. A smile appeared. "Charlie, I knew you'd find me. You're such a good boy." "So his name is Charlie?" Walter smiles. "Yes, best partner I ever had, and I've been so worried about him." Daniel remained beside Walter's bed for a long time. Before he left, he made a quiet promise. "I'll take care of Charlie until you're ready to come home." Walter smiled and gently nodded. Daniel and Walter shake hands. Charlie watches quietly from beside the bed. The next evening, Charlie was waiting at the station again, but this time, he wasn't alone. Daniel stepped onto the platform, holding on to Charlie's familiar blue leash. Every evening followed the same familiar rhythm. The train, the walk through the hospital, the quiet visit beside Walter's bed. Before long, the nurses smiled whenever Charlie appeared, Patients waved. Even the security guard kept a dog biscuit behind the desk. And each evening, Walter looked a little stronger. The doctors noticed. So did Charlie. 3 weeks after Daniel first followed Charlie off the train, Walter received the news he had been waiting to hear. He was finally going home. That evening, Daniel and Charlie made one final trip together. One last train. One last walk. One final promise to keep. Charlie waited patiently on the station platform. His eyes never left the train doors, just as they had every evening before. The doors opened. Passengers stepped onto the platform. Then, Walter appeared. Charlie stood perfectly still for one heartbeat before racing into his arms. Walter looked toward Daniel. "Thank you," Daniel smiled. He never stopped believing you'd come back. Some journeys don't end at a station. Sometimes they end the moment someone finally comes home. Charlie had never been searching for another destination. He had simply been waiting for the person he loved. And thanks to one stranger who chose to follow, no one had to make the journey alone.